All right. Well, welcome everybody to our session. I'm so delighted to have some folks in the room, some of whom are familiar to me, others who are maybe folks from Maria's listserv or Padma's listserv, but I know this was promoted by a couple of different university outlets. So I'm just really thrilled. On a personal level too, because I have not seen some of these designs for Walton. So I'm very excited to hear about the Walton project myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Francis Pastorell. I am the Assistant Director for University Apartments, Family and Student Services. And it is a personal passion of mine to see excellent housing for our non-trad and grad students, which we of course provide through our lovely university apartments. But there's also this idea that our residence halls are amazing too. And these are spaces that I feel that for some of our non-trad and grad populations, these could be really excellent spaces for those students looking to live closer to campus, looking for a more all-inclusive sort of meal plan. So I just wanted to create this opportunity for our amazing design and building team to share a little bit about what's going to be happening at Walton over the next couple of years. And then in turn, kind of open the floor for our non-trad and grad students to share, what's on your pie in the sky dream list for university housing? What would you love to see in non-trad and grad settings? And not that we would necessarily be able to incorporate all of those ideas exactly as they're presented, but we just kind of wanted to open the door to some feedback and communication. And certainly we'll look to continue to do that throughout the project, perhaps through some digital surveying methods if Zoom is not everyone's cup of tea. But with that, I wonder, would it be best to turn it over to Allison or to Anna, or would anybody from housing like to say anything before we jump into the meat and potatoes?
No, just that we're really excited, I think, about the possibility for the future and excited to hear back from some feedback from students specifically. We really appreciate that opportunity and from our partners. So thanks to the design team for being here, being open to just hearing and listening as we're going through. We're at a refining place, I think, for most of these the projects. So the walls and the placement of all that stuff is pretty much in place. But I just look forward. Thanks for your time and for being here, and really excited about this future of being able to offer some spaces that I think will be much more appealing to non-traditional. We've really had a culture of very traditional students living on campus, first time full-time freshmen, and this project has really opened up some opportunities for looking at different types of housing that might have appeal for graduate students, international students, students seeking a little bit more independence. So just want to say thanks for everybody for being here, and it is good to see you on a personal level. I don't get to see everybody all the time, so good to see you. Is that good, Francis? Anything else?
That is excellent, Anna. And if Maria and Padma, not to put you both on the spot, but I think because of your roles working with non-trads and grads, if either of you wouldn't mind introducing yourself real quick, just so we have a sense of who's in the room, and then we'll turn it over to our wonderful Walton transformation team.
Would you like to go first, Padma? Oh, sorry.
You could go first.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maria Kallenbach. I'm the coordinator for non-traditional and veteran student programs. I work in the Dean of Students office, and I work with a lot of students on housing issues. So I'm really happy to be here and to hear about the plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. So I'm Padma Karadu. I'm from graduate school, and I work with graduate students also, especially students with families, and also international grad students regarding the housing. And I'm really happy to be a part of this collaborative team here. Thank you, Francis.
All right. So without further ado, I turn it over to the wonderful folks who are leading this Walton transformation project.
Okay, hi, I'm Chris Andreyko. I'm an architect and project manager with Raul Broca, and we're working with our partners, Mithun. Alan and Lynn can introduce themselves, and we're excited to be here today. Thank you for the invite. I'm going to go ahead and cop to the fact that the invite was, we're mostly coming here to monitor, so I didn't necessarily have anything ready to go. I'm furiously downloading our most recent interiors presentation. So if you just give me a minute, we can get those slides up as soon as they're done downloading.
And no pressure. So I think the primary goal is the feedback. So it's certainly not mean to put in.
Chris, I do have that, the one page that has the axon view of the micro apartment and the shared like 4-bedroom apartment. So I don't know if you go over
If you
anything
want to
else.
get that up, Lynn can probably talk you through that, and I'll find some of Kaylin's more recent interior overall for phase 2 of this project that we can use to reference as well.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Oh, Francis, would you be able to enable the screen share option?
Yes, that's right up there with forgetting to unmute is allowing.
With the scroll? Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll let either Kaylin or Lynn, if you guys want to chime in to just kind of walk through the design of this space, as you're definitely more familiar than I am.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I can start, and Kaylin, feel free to jump in. Just sort of in the whole context of the Hamilton Walton Transformation Project, we can show you a site plan in a little bit that shows the different buildings that are a part of that. Some of you may have already seen the construction happening where the former Humpy Lumpy area was. That building will be like more traditional freshman housing, along with a nice, great big market hall dining experience and a recruitment center and some ARC spaces as well. So it's great that that piece is on its way. And I think that construction finishes up on that midsummer. On the Walton site specifically, there are 2 buildings. One building that is also for freshman living, and then another building that's dedicated to upper division housing, so more apartment style living. And the drawing that you see on the screen right now is representing the 2 different unit styles that will be part of that building. On the far left, there is like a studio unit, so it's intended really for a 1-person living arrangement. Has a small kitchen area for preparation of food, a small seating area and desk area, and then also space for a full-size bed. And then the apartment that you see more to the right side of the screen is a 4-bedroom apartment. Tried to really design an experience for, when you come in the front door, you feel like you've arrived home, you feel really comfortable. There's a great sort of sense of living and community space, kind of tied in with the kitchen and preparation of food area. And then 4 individual bedrooms that also have desk area, wardrobe, and a full-size bed. And then 2 different shower, bathroom compartments, and then a shared vanity space. So trying to really provide place for community, for privacy, and just sort of like having a sense of your own space as an upper division student. Maybe
If it would help, I have some of the slides of the overall project that we could put up just to kind of get everybody oriented to it.
Sure, that sounds great.
So here is our site where Walton currently is, our Walton replacement. So across the street is building A, which is currently under construction. And these are buildings B and C. This is the one Lynn was speaking about, where we were looking at the axon with the 4-bedroom apartments and the micro units. And then building B is a more traditional residence hall for freshmen. So it's mostly double rooms, some triples, some singles. Just to orient you, Powell Plaza and Hayward Field are down to the bottom of the screen here. And then here's the LLC Commons to the left and the Promenade to the north. Here's some overall photo montages of our project. So this is the building that's currently under construction. Kind of see where the construction cranes have been photoshopped out. Here's that building B, the 6-story first-year residential hall, and then building C, which is 5 and 4 stories for the upper division students. As far as exterior claddings, we're looking at mostly brick and metal paneling. curtain wall, which is aluminum window systems. Some different views, give you guys a feel for it. Third phase of the project, after we build building B and C, is to tear down Hamilton Hall and build a new open space to replace Humpy Lumpy, which was lost with the construction of building A. And just here's some, I'll skip ahead to some of the, they're not here. So just here's some renderings of different views that are a little bit closer up of, here's building B's main entry off Agate. This is kind of the corner down at Powell Plaza. You can see we have these stacked study lounges for the students. They're at the ends of each wing, so each wing gets their own study lounges. Here's a view of building C, kind of the main entry into the academic residential community. We call it a paseo. It's an open space on the ground floor that passes through. So you've got access to the residential area and the vertical circulation core to the left and the academic residential community to the right. And then this is another view looking at this project from the promenade as you're walking towards Matthew Knight Arena. So, do a few more of the pretty pictures. Just a view from the promenade looking through to these new courtyards that are going to be created as part of the project. Here's a view of kind of the internal courtyard entry to building B. We're thinking there's going to be a lot more diagonal movement through some of these spaces now that Humpy Lumpy is blocked up, and we're kind of pushing students a little further to the west as they transverse or travel across campus. More views of these courtyards mostly. Here's some more views from the promenade, looking at the north side of building C, where we step down to 4 floors. Back to our site plan. Let's see, I don't know where we want to go from here necessarily on this discussion. We can pull up floor plans, we can pull up some of the renderings of the lounge spaces.
You know what I think might be interesting, and anybody else can chime in if they want to as well, but if this is really focusing more on sort of the building C living environment, we could look at just the common entry point, the paseo, those lounges on the upper levels, and thinking about ideas about how those will be used and how those are, really intended to be community hubs for the upper division students. That might be a nice thing to talk through. And Kaylin, if you want to just describe these spaces, I think that would be that'd be a nice introduction to them.
Sure. Yeah, so in the upper right hand corner of this slide, we have a little locator map. So this is building B on the right and then building C on the left, which we were just looking at in the site plan. The tiny green dot is that little paseo Chris mentioned. So this is a pass through underneath building C that you can walk from the living learning building through to these new courtyards and building B. So that's kind of where we're located. So up above this paseo, on each level, we have this really nice residential lounge. So there's one of these per floor that's shared by all the students living in these 4-bedroom and micro unit apartments. We have glass on both sides. So there's some really nice vantage points back down to the courtyard and then LLC. So it's a really nice place for gathering with larger groups outside of your apartment. There's a little small quiet study space where you could get out and then do a group project or some focused work. So just some nice amenities there. We also have this really nice opportunity to use wood structure in this space. So we're using a material called CLT, which is cross-laminated timber. So it's basically like giant wood, plywood panels, if you will. So when you look up at the ceiling, there'll be this really warm, welcoming texture in these glassy lounge zones. So it'll be a pretty nice space. If you go to the view, This is a view looking towards the elevators and the stair that you might come up to this lounge on. To the right is the courtyard and building B. To the left is the LLC again, but you can see there's some opportunities for different groups to gather. Maybe people could share a meal, have a potluck. Maybe there's a board game night. There's a small opportunity for kind of watching TV together. So some nice little groupings underneath this wood ceiling that you can see. This is a view looking back the other direction. So we have the elevator on our left and then that quiet study space on our right. So just a different view of the space where you can get a sense of scale. One idea that we talked about, and maybe if you jump to slide 35, was the idea that maybe each lounge on each floor has a different program. So rather than on each floor, you have kind of the same furniture programming. Maybe one is dedicated to board games, one could be dedicated to sharing a meal. Maybe there's more of a video game focus. That way, by spreading out the functions of these lounges, it might draw students kind of up and down the stairs to different lounges rather than just staying on their own floor level. So that could be interesting to hear your thoughts on.
I think a few just other items to note. So understanding that this is more of an independent living environment, we still wanted to create this sort of core of community. So when you arrive home through the front door, you have a place where you feel connected, but then you also feel like you have a chance to kind of move into your own space. So that's been part of how the planning has come together for the floor plan itself. There is shared laundry that's located at the northwest corner of building C. So there's, sort of laundry spots that are stacked all the way up the building, but that's something that is a sort of a shared amenity within the building as well. And then on the ground floor of the space, like Chris mentioned, there is an ARC space that's intended for upper division students, which we have sort of a general layout of open space for the ARC, and then also some private offices and some music rooms. But it's also been some good, interesting point of discussion in terms of how does that ARC space maybe look differently than something for a traditional freshman experience.
Lynn, would you be willing, just for some of our non-trads or grads who may not be familiar with the academic residential community, can you share a little bit about the ARC?
Sure, yeah. And maybe, I don't know, Chris, if you want to pull up the building B plan, because that's sort of more the traditionally how those have been put together. Essentially, both for all of the buildings, part of the square footage allotment was for these academic residential communities. And so it's dedicated space for different areas of study to come together. So for instance, in building B, the PAC ARC, the Performing Arts ARC, is a part of this community. And so there's two larger spaces for the PAC ARC, classroom style spaces that are dedicated to that. Also private office or music rooms dedicated to that. And then those are all sort of, there's like the PAC ARC and then space for other ARC groups to kind of come together and flank this learning commons, this sort of shared learning commons in the center. So that's organizationally how it's put together. Functionally, I don't know if Chris or Anna want to talk more about just even what the ARC program is, if that's a question as well.
Sure. Anna, please step all over me. Probably know more about this than I do, but my understanding and what we've been working with is the idea that, in this case for building B, it's first year students. So in this case, all this first year students who are majoring in performing arts related majors, dance, music, theater, all of these, or another one, I think they're arranged around U of O's Flight Pass, or that's the intent, if you all have awareness of those. So it could be, medical studies, but it doesn't necessarily mean pre-med. It runs the full gamut of like research, pre-med, people who might be going into medical administration. So basically trying to build a cohort of first year students, in this case for building B, that are basically arranged around a theme. And the art gives them a place in their residence hall where they can meet together for collaborative sessions, not necessarily for traditional classes. I don't think these are registrar controlled or scheduled or anything like that, but it's they have offices for advising faculty to meet with students, get them on the right track, and just really collaborative spaces within the building for forming a cohort of like-minded students.
Yeah, Chris, I'm going to put you on the road for recruiting for ARCs through admissions, but you got it. These are curricular and identity-based spaces that students come together for both classes as well as informal gatherings and connections to faculty members who are attached to a particular academic residential community for mentorship, guidance, and just a really cool, unique space. We have about 15 of these around campus and several that are going into the new residence halls. So we have not identified these ARCs for the upper class students. This has been very focused, as Chris said, on our first year students to date. Doesn't mean it might not change in the future, but that's kind of where we are right now. But there are some spaces that we could potentially grow into. As Lynn, I don't know if you want to clarify your comment or show those specific spaces for building C.
Sure, that would be great. Yeah, so these are our construction documents. We're getting into the technical details, but to the top of that page where it says match line, just to orient everybody, that is the Paseo space that connects the Living Learning Green and the courtyards. Just to the south of that is a similar ARC space with a learning commons on the left, 2 classroom spaces on the right, and then smaller study or music rooms located on the southwest corner of that space. So smaller in total square footage than what we're designing for in the freshman living buildings, but a similar idea about engaging with academic learning within the residence halls themselves. The other piece of the program that I think is pretty fascinating, just from my perspective, is there are faculty and residence apartments as well as resident director apartments in all of the buildings. And so it's pretty cool to be engaged with a faculty member in that type of living and learning environment. I know some of the residence halls have the same thing already. KI, for instance, where the story that we heard when we first started working at U of O is that one of the professors would come out and make pancakes for the students on Saturday morning. So I think it's just a really nice way to integrate faculty members and students in a different way.
Well, folks, I'm going to jump in because it is 3:30 and I want to kind of devote the next half hour to some of our non-trad and grad student questions and thoughts and ideas. And I think it's great that we have these resources, and perhaps if we could pull up the floor plan for the units once more, because I know that about 3 or 4 students came on just as those were disappearing. So I would like for those folks to be able to get an eyeball on those. But yeah, you've now seen sort of from 1,000 feet up what this beautiful residence hall is going to look like. I've heard a little bit about some of the ideas for amenities and sort of the room for growth here. So what we'd love to know now is, as students who identify as either graduates or non-trads, what either about this speaks to you, or what are some things that you would want to clear up before you would commit to putting in an application for a residence hall in this building? So we'll just turn it over, folks. And I will stop recording here. Though I will be taking notes on any questions that come up, and then we will disseminate the first part of the video just to folks who maybe were not able to see the presentation so that they can digitally engage.